This almost looks like an apology video, but it isn't. As an Asian man with an Islamic name and a darker skin tone, I've experienced my fair share of discrimination, whether it's random screenings in the airports or just being called rude nicknames in school, or just simply, being commented on by the local aunties about how dark my skin color is. It's it happens. It's a problem for sure, but it's nothing compared to what African Americans face in America on the daily. I've never had fear for my life for being who I am. Not in Bangladesh, not in Australia. And therefore, as a South Asian, it's important that you don't bring up your own skin tone issues when talking about the Black Lives movement, Black Lives Matter movement, because it pales in comparison to what the movement's about. It's about police brutality. It's about systemic racism for generations. It's about just simply fearing for their lives. So why did I choose to be involved? And I'm saying involved because there's different levels of involvement. I'll get into that in a second. But I have greatly benefited from the African American culture, either through their music. I mean, any music I listened to was either directly or indirectly influenced by that culture, be it rock, blues, hip hop. We all owe it to the African American culture. The time when a black man cracks a joke on Netflix stand-up comedy, I celebrate when a black man scores a goal in football. So, and that's why I felt personally obliged to be a part of, to be involved in this. And that brings me to the next part of the conversation, which is, how do you get involved? And I say involved because the way I see it, there's different levels of being involved. So is posting a black tile on your Instagram being involved, or is it fake woke, like Hassan Minaj said? So if that is fake woke, then what isn't? Like, are there different levels? So if black tile on Instagram is at the very bottom, is posting 10 stories by black creators on Instagram the next level, donating money the level after, is attending a protest the level after. What if I've done all 4 or 5 of these things? I've posted the black tile, I've posted the stories about black creators, I've donated money, I've attended a protest. Is that it? Have I gotten my protest or involvement woke certification? The reason why I bring this up, because I see a lot of people who turn this into a competition. I've seen posts about how if you haven't posted an Instagram story, you're racist. Now I get it. If you post about every other movement and every other thing out there, but you haven't spoken about Black Lives Matter, sure, it can be deemed as racist. But who am I to judge? Really, like who are you to judge? It's a person's involvement in anything isn't just one Instagram story. And not everyone will have the emotional bandwidth to support the movement that you personally care about. People have different personal experiences which lead them to different things that they care about. I care about this issue because it's affected me in certain ways. There are many who have, who care way more than I do, and there are many who don't. And I understand that people say that silence is equals injustice, but they might care about a different issue that you don't care about. You probably don't have any awareness of. I don't know much about the Hong Kong protests or the issues in Brazil or what's happening in Russia, simply because I'm not as much invested with my limited resource of 24 hours a day to care about all these different issues. I I choose my battles in ways that affect me personally, but I understand the need to fight those battles as well. So even if you can't see why someone isn't fighting for your cause, understand why. And for those who aren't supporting these causes, don't be a dick. Don't bring up all lives matter if you have nothing better to say. The very basic human emotion that you can get when you see a cop suffocate another human being to death on broad daylight is have empathy. You don't need to feel personally obliged to support this cause because, you know, for many people it is personal, even if it's a random stranger on the internet. When someone's parents die, when someone's parent dies, the bare minimum we do is say, I'm sorry. That's like default human compassion and empathy. And if you're not supporting the movement, that's the bare minimum you can do. Just have empathy. Just understand why people are so passionate about this. And it's the same thing when celebrities die. Someone who follows basketball, someone who follows LA Lakers, someone whose hero was Kobe Bryant, would be devastated with what happened earlier this year. But someone who doesn't know anything about basketball would never get it. But the bare minimum, again, is for you to have empathy that, okay, this person is hurting because her hero passed away. This is where we bring up, like, it's a competition that, you've supported people in Syria, you've supported the injustice in Palestine, but you aren't speaking out about Black Lives Matter. Why is that? Or where were you when people in Palestine were dying? Where were you when the Amazon was burning? So please don't turn this into a competition that fulfills your own agenda to feel progressive. And that brings me to the other side of this conversation. Well, posting a black tile is great for awareness, at the very least, or posting about history lessons is definitely important. But recognize and understand that your followers would generally be geared towards what you already believe in. So 9 out of 10 people already agree that Black Lives Matter in your following, unless you've got a big audience where having one opinion would definitely polarize against one another. We are showing our support for the cause, but the people who are seeing it already believe in the cause. So the grander impact of eradicating racism or eradicating discrimination or changing the way a racist person thinks is being very, very minimal, because they live in their own circles and they have their own heroes. And if you seek out these bubbles, and we live in this content bubble ecosystem, and if you go into these bubbles where they exist, different opinions exist, you'll see that they are having a great time, just having a laugh at leftists and everything else that's going on. And there's different variations. It's not about George Floyd's death anymore. It's not just about his death anymore, and it's not just about police brutality. It's talking about policies and it's challenging people's ideologies that they've had for generations and decades. So there's no overlap of these two content bubbles, and therefore their own beliefs are getting stronger within their circles, because they'll have a fact that they'll get and they'll run away with it, share it within their own circle, who will support the fact. And when you, by being someone who's from the other content circle, present that fact to them, they'll call you names. It'll be speaking to it'll feel like you're speaking to a brick wall. And it's vice versa as well. If they come into your circle, you just straight up won't even converse with them. And that's why this whole blocking culture is so divisive. If someone doesn't agree with you or has a different viewpoint, they'll unfollow you or you'll block them. What's that doing? They're going to someone else who shares their viewpoint, and is creating this whole new world, this whole new circle where their beliefs are already being reinforced. The way to tackle this, I believe, is, and it's easier said than done, I understand. The way to tackle this is having conversations with these people, if you can. If you know them personally, or if you know someone personally who's got a very polarizing opinion about something you believe in, try having a sit down. And while you might not change their viewpoint completely, at least you'll be able to present the other side of the story, bring it on the table, and the very least they'll start being aware of it, even if they don't believe in it. And for me, that's still nudging the pendulum towards the other end for them. And that's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to have these arguments and discussions with people from the other end, and most of the time it's just been dead end. But I feel the net impact has been positive. But I feel that's probably the only way, just conversing with others with a different viewpoint is the only way you can bring somewhat of an awareness to the issues that you have, somewhat of an awareness to the situation or your side of point of view. And I guess just having basic compassion and empathy, that's literally it. I can't believe I'm saying this, but just have some empathy and understand someone's point of view before you attack them or block them or unfollow them or just say fuck you. Like, I understand that emotions are high, but if your goal is to end discrimination in the long run, and it's not an overnight fix, I get that, you'll need to start having these conversations with people who are actively out there being racist and discriminating, and less so with Salim uncle who will call the bride Kalo. While that's again an important issue, just not in alignment with what's going on here. Obviously, this is all from the perspective of a South Asian man who's never been to America, so do take it with a bit of grain of salt. But I'd love to know your thoughts. What do you think? What can we do beyond just posting on social media? Like, I'd love to have a conversation. So do post. Do let me know in the comments below. I'd love to educate myself as well, a bit more on the issues that we're seeing right now. But yeah, if there's one thing that I want you to take away for this video is please be compassionate. We are in very, very turbulent, divisive times, and that's literally, I feel, the one emotion that can solve everything. Just having a bit of compassion and empathy. But until then, I hope you're safe, and I hope things get better.